battery locomotives would be the large facility in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, sir. Senator Ricketts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jeffries, some have accused the railroads of having opposing methods to reduce emissions. Can you speak about the industry's efforts to reduce emissions within their existing fleet of locomotives? And then are there federal programs that you support to help with these efforts?
Sure. Thank you, Senator. Well, I think, you know, it's not a joke, but that you want to reduce emissions right now, take trucks off the highway and put them on the rail, and you reduce emissions by 3 to 4 times. And again, truckers are our biggest partners and our biggest competitors as well. So I say that with a smile on my face, but it's fact. Railroads, as we mentioned, 40% of long-haul freight, less than 2% of transportation-related emissions, and that's due to the investments we've made over the years. Certainly, there have been billions invested into modernizing or re-equipping locomotives. Some of the examples about next-gen locomotives were mentioned by my colleague as far as getting battery electric into revenue service, proof of concept, working on hydrogen-powered locomotives in the yards, getting electric cranes, electric switcher locomotives, even, again, using technology to get the throughput faster in yards, because idling trucks, for example, are leading to additional emissions, additional release of particulate matter. Anti-idling technologies in locomotives and yards as well. So I would also add that as a transition, as we move into the next gen of locomotives and of power, increasing the use of biofuels, whether it's renewable diesel, whether it's other renewable fuels into the feedstocks of how we're powering our locomotives is absolutely key as well. So it's certainly a multi-pronged approach.
Great. And you know what? You just mentioned biofuels there. So according to a recent blueprint for transportation, decarbonization, biodiesel, and renewable diesel can play a key role in reducing rail emissions, especially in the near and medium terms. Can you discuss how the industry is utilizing these fuels, and are there things Congress can do to ensure that these fuels are in sufficient supply and cost competitive?
Sure. So increasing the percentage of biofuels in our overarching power structure, and whether that's, again, a mix of renewable diesel or biofuels, an 80-20 mixture there. What can Congress do? I think really hold a level playing field when it comes to how you approach sustainable fuel development, sustainable fuel subsidies, sustainable fuel feedstocks, so that all modes have an opportunity to increase deployment. So you want to raise availability, decrease the price, and that'll increase use overall across all modes.
Great. And then CARB has once again been working toward a significant regulation to impact the transportation sector. How would the regulation being considered by CARB impact the functioning of the national network?
Well, you hit the nail on the head when you said national network, and our network is over 140,000 miles. It operates in an interconnected nature. So locomotives, trains on the West Coast end up on the East Coast, and mixed and matched throughout the network. And so really, when you're looking at a proposed regulation of that magnitude, it has national impacts, national consequences on the ability of the network to operate. We don't operate just within the bounds of one state. That's why we have federal law that actually prohibits efforts along these lines when it comes to regulating new or retrofitted locomotives. And we think the appropriate place to have this discussion is at the federal government, and we're happy to play a productive role in that process.
Can you discuss what sort of impact this regulation would have on short line railroads?
Well, it would be nothing short of a death knell to about 25% of the short lines in California.
And why do you say that?
Because on average, estimates show that to comply with the regulation, about 40% of the average short line's revenue would be required and dedicated to complying here. And frankly, 25% of the short lines in that state, that they can't function with that sort of cost structure. So what's the result? The result is that freight's going to get diverted onto the highways, increasing congestion with less efficient, more emissions transmitting modes of transportation. And so I think that's the opposite of the direction we want to go to. Again, this should be a collaborative effort focused on what the market can support when it comes to production and what our small businesses can afford when it comes to transitioning to a cleaner future.
Yeah. And are you familiar with what I mentioned in my opening remarks with regard to the Bailey Yard in North Platte and their battery electric locomotives? Are you familiar with that Union Pacific project by chance?
Yes.
So how long do you think it would take then to get those implemented and be able to look at the feasibility with regard to those and what they would be able to do going forward?
Well, certainly we're already deploying battery electric in, as I said, in yards, and there have been orders made by the railroads. I know one railroad is only getting half as many as they've ordered because of production capability and availability when it comes to the batteries required. So there's a bit of a long lead time there. But what we're really looking at is a generational fleet overturning over a significant amount of time. These are long life assets, and we want to make sure we can continue to move America's freight. We all want to do a job in a way that reduces emissions and continually reduces our environmental impact. But it's got to be done in a way that can allow us to continue to operate, serve our customers, serve our communities, and that the production market can actually handle.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Jeffries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So Chair will recognize himself again. I am a technological